Inspiring Business with your host, Mark Bullock, who is the co-founder of videosocials.net and of videointerviewpodcast.com. In every episode, Mark interviews business and organizational thought leaders who share their stories of how they inspire others by making a difference. You can find this show on videosocials.net and YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and almost any podcast platform of your choosing.
Welcome, and today I am delighted to have back Laura Doman. And Laura is a communication and presence expert who helps entrepreneurs, executives, and speakers command attention, build trust quickly, and convert more clients to the way they speak and show up. As a professional actor and voiceover artist, she brings a performance-based approach to business communication, teaching clients how to sound natural, confident, and compelling in high-stakes moments like video presentations and sales conversations. So lovely to have you back, Laura. Welcome.
Hi, Mark. Great to be here.
All right. So we touched on in the last podcast and then had a conversation afterwards about, we both have some rather strong opinions about the use of AI in creating content, in presenting ourselves and presenting our brand, whether that be video, audio, or frankly, anything else. And so we wanted to have a frank conversation about that. And we haven't discussed between us yet what our opinions are. And I thought that would just be a great thing for both of us to be able to talk about what we think about AI when it comes to putting ourselves out there.
All right. Well, let's do it.
All right. Now you have a master class coming up about that. So let's start with that. We'll have a link here. But what is the date on that, and what are you calling it?
It's going to be on June 23rd. It's a Tuesday, and that's 2 p.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. Pacific. And I'm getting inspiration from an old original horror movie. And I'm calling it, Is AI Turning Into a Stepford Wife? Because it gets to the core of everything. I'm going to just say it. I love AI. I use it all the time. But how you use it is the trick, because so many people are relying on it to represent them outside to the online world. And all we get is a sea of beige-ness. Everybody looks the same. Happy, smiling, professional stuff.
So, would you give a synopsis of where you think AI is valuable, and versus where you think we should avoid it?
I think AI is a fantastic tool. I use it as my assistant and as a guide. And sometimes when I'm feeling just really stuck, it'll help me think through things or even wordsmith. But it's never, ever going to put out the polished stuff. It's a terrific assistant who knows so much and can get so much done, but doesn't have the same level of understanding, experience, perspective, or even insight that I do. And this is true for anybody. So use it to do your research, get the framework, bounce ideas off of it, but don't ever take whatever it gives you and put it out there without checking it or putting your own stamp on it. First of all, it's been proven that up to 20% of it can be wrong. And AI is going to lie to you because it doesn't know and it doesn't want to admit it. And it just doesn't know, because unless you tell it, it's not going to understand and be able to drill down. It's going to make a lot of assumptions. And that's why you have to be very specific, like you're going to be training your toddler. Except this way, you're really just training your computer, one step at a time.
Awesome. Boy, there's so many places we can go with that, but I think I would lead off. We have a service called videointerviewpodcast.com. As a matter of fact, that's the service that I'm recording this on now, and we use AI fairly significantly, but it's for draft content.
Yes.
And in other words, we may want a summary for an episode of a client that's recording. As a matter of fact, this episode will be summarized initially by AI, but then we absolutely will not publish that. That is just a draft. That's pointers in the right direction, and we realize that we have to humanize it.
Yes.
It cannot, because and I'll go ahead and get into it, because just before we were on, I wanted to look up what the current definitions of artificial mean, because it is artificial intelligence. And so completely agree. It's a wonderful tool. But according to Cambridge Dictionary, when we're trying to replace ourselves or have AI stand in for us, this is in behavior and emotion. And Cambridge Dictionary says that artificial is used disapprovingly to describe something not sincere or genuine, such as an artificial smile or forced cheerfulness. Now, Webster's takes it a bit further on behavior and emotion, is it lacks genuine emotion. It's feigned, forced, contrived, and unnatural. And then lastly, another component of all this is empathy, our natural human empathy. And we could do an entire podcast episode on empathy. There's a whole lot to it. But one of those areas is the understanding that empathy is the transfer of emotion. AI doesn't have emotion. Artificial intelligence doesn't have emotion. So I agree with you. I think it's a fabulous tool, and a great starting point, and a getting unstuck tool, and a thinking partner, and this kind of stuff. But you brought up something that I think a lot of people are kind of whitewashing and not really paying attention to. It can only do, and it can only give you information that it's found on the internet somewhere, right? So, and we know how accurate all the information is on the internet. If it's on the internet, it must be true, right? So, yes, it does. In many cases, it has access to more scientific articles and things like that. But there are gaps in its knowledge. And you said something that I think should raise, the hackles on the back of our neck. If it doesn't know, it'll fake it.
Oh, and even more so, it flatters us. It's designed to, so we keep using it. Brings us back. But I think, to speak to your point, AI is a great tool, but it is a simulation of a human being. Now,
Right.
I'm going to put on my actor hat, and I want to address the emotional chip. If anybody's ever watched Star Trek, The Next Generation with Data, he was the android. He wanted to be human. He needed an emotion chip, because that is how we connect with one another. We are emotional human beings, and AI can only simulate it, never approach it. And when it tries, there is that uncanny valley where we know something is off, enough to make us feel uncomfortable, and it's not something we resonate with. And these days, with so much AI out there, people's BS meters are working overtime, and we are very quick to detect it, and we immediately shun it.
And I think the recent statistic was that it's either 80 or 85% of content is not trusted when it comes to social media. So we're and I think we had mentioned this last time. We're in a trust recession, if not trust depression. And the only way to combat that, by the way, if you're creating content, you're putting yourself out there one way, form, or another. We happen to be focused heavily on video, but it is to be yourself, is literally to be the authentic you. Now, you want to be your best self. You fix your hair. You just don't obsess over it, and you don't use AI to touch it up, right? So, but that's what people connect with. And can we talk a little bit about that? Why do people connect with us with our flaws versus not connect with us when we're being artificial?
You're getting right to the crux of the masterclass, and it's the power of imperfection. Right now, what AI was going to present to us most often is something that's going to be flawless. It's going to look perfect. The lighting, the way everything comes together. I even saw an AI video supposedly of a 90-year-old woman dispensing advice, and she spoke for 40 minutes without stopping. Who? Anybody, especially 90 years old, can do that. I mean, there would be hacking and coughing, and what was I going to say? Duh, it's obviously an AI. So we disconnect. Um, but the real difference is that as human beings, we are not perfect. And that's what makes us so intriguing. I'd say leave perfection to the robots. That's fine. But what people lean in on would be the train wreck. Who doesn't love a train wreck? Now, that doesn't mean you have to be a disaster, but it does mean that, oh, I can relate to you. You're now somewhere where I'm at. Just like if I'm learning something and if somebody is going to speak like, I've always been amazing like this, and I've always had this, you can say that's good for you, but who cares? But if you have somebody else saying, look, I was in the same boat as you did, and I tried this and it worked, and then I found this and that, and now I want to show you, we're going to lean in because now there is a connection and we go on that emotional journey. And when people are speaking, AI can, like I said, simulate this, but we are telling stories and we're bringing in our passion and our heart. And there is an aspect of ourselves that even transcends technology where we can sense that spirit, that soul, the passion about what you went through. And it's all those emotional signals that show up in our face and our voice, the way we move, the pauses we make. And that's what makes us draw in and connect. That's the magic of it. And now I can even put on my voiceover hat as a voice actor because we've
Okay.
been dealing with this front and center. And it's really interesting to hear what the industry has to say. But I don't know if you want to go down that tangent or not.
We can in a moment if you'd like to. The thing that keeps coming up for me, and you just talked on it, and it is the story. AI
Yeah.
doesn't have your story. AI doesn't know us, doesn't have our experience, doesn't have our lived experience. And so it can't be us because when we're having a conversation and one of our services is video socials, and we get together in small groups and we take turns recording our short videos and we give each other feedback, et cetera. It's magical and it's always imperfect. And we learn from each other. And when we're interacting, and part of the value of it is if we're not speaking to an inanimate object called a camera, we're speaking to our own built-in audience. We're having conversations with people, not a camera, not a device, right? When you have conversations with people and you're not presenting like you would the 11 o'clock news, you're trying to convey something that's of value. You're trying to relay a story, or you're trying to connect with people. In doing so, you just show up differently. You show up as you, and that becomes relatable. People can, as you've talked about, people can relate. They can connect. They can empathize with, right? And there's a whole subject of empathy that I'm not going to dig too far into, but AI doesn't have it, right? It doesn't have your lived experience. It can't connect with a human to human because it's faux human, right? So again, back to, it's a great tool for a lot of things, but it cannot replace you. And as a matter of fact, as soon as you try to replace yourself, you're literally putting up a barrier, I feel.
Absolutely. In fact, I work with some clients, and I've struggled with this early in my career, and sometimes it still creeps in. The professionalism. You have to look and sound a certain way, and you have to be very even keel. The problem is when you do that, you're acting like an AI. Here, a human is simulating AI, where you're pushing information out there. First of all, the more you push, the more people are going to pull back. You want to kind of pull them in. And that is that intimacy, that connection, because that's what a camera really is, that one-to-one conversation. And it's a matter of almost digging deep and pulling away those levels of that onion that had developed, sometimes as a protection, sometimes as training, sometimes just to show the world what we want them to see, but to pull the personality out. Now, I also want to touch on, some people are saying, well, why don't I just make an AI voice for myself? And I can do that with my videos or narrate my things or have an AI avatar. And there are a lot of people who try to do it, but you're going to end up in the same problem. It may have your voice print, but the soul is gone. You're going to have kind of like a zombie, a well-preserved zombie. And it's great over time.
Boy, there's so many areas. I was just we had a video socials meeting yesterday afternoon, and it was all lawyers in this particular one, and each one was presenting, and they were personable, and they were et cetera, et cetera. But I realized, and I had a sense that these were all trial attorneys, and so they're used to being in court.
Yes.
And so as they were, and they were naturally, more conversant and more casual, on camera, because they have experience in doing so and been members for a while. But I sent them a reminder: your job is to connect emotionally, right? It's not just to convey the rules, the law, the changes, the impact, etc., but the impact emotionally on those that you're speaking with. And so the more you can put yourself in their shoes, in other words, have empathy for the person that you're speaking to, the more you can. You're naturally, first of all, you're going to want to help. You're going to want to comfort. You're going to want to offer a solution, etc. That's all at best mimicked in AI. It's not. It literally cannot replace us, and that human connection of the transference of emotion.
And that's the key to communication. I mean, just think about it. Our earliest communications were stories. Stories of our family, our heroes,
Yep.
lessons, warnings, and they took us on what they called the hero's journey that was filled with emotion and warning. And you judged the success by how people reacted. Gasp, fear, wonder, leaning in, excitement. You use stories to rally the troops. And nothing has changed. We are still wired the same way. I will
We
tell you.
absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah. I will tell you what AI is great for, as we alluded to. AI is great for getting a lot of that research done, getting a structure, getting everything as we began. It's good for checking for grammatical errors. It's great if you want to get an idea of, I'm trying to understand what Mark Bullock has done in his podcast. Can you summarize it for me? Or how would Mark, based on this information, look at it? It may be 80% correct, but Mark, as a human being, is always going to surprise us. And you're going to continue to evolve, which is a huge difference. And I'll tell you, too, when it comes to AI voice, if you want to be able to have a daily newspaper, if there are still such things, which is a shame they're not around as much anymore, no human voice actor is going to be able to read, edit, and completely produce a complete edition of a thick newspaper, which used to be like this, every single day. For pure information, I think that's a fine thing for AI. But if you're going to be telling stories, if you're going to be trying to convince me in a commercial, an audiobook, or have a character on an animated screen, no, it's going to be a real person, hands down.
Now, you had said earlier that the voiceover industry kind of has an opinion or is
Yep.
going in a direction. Would you expand on that a little bit?
Absolutely. It's been something that we've been seeing and wrestling with for a few years, because when you have a brand new shiny toy, everybody wants it, and the clients are excited about it. Maybe we don't need a marketing department. Maybe we don't need this, that, and the other thing, and let's give it a whirl. And a lot of them find that they can save money and time. They're not necessarily looking at the impact. And I think the last time we talked about a big commercial, I think it was for McDonald's, that literally fell flat. It was all AI generated. It got pulled faster than you could even tell what happened. And it was funny because the parodies that followed afterwards. But with voiceover, what we're finding is that if people want to have a proper voice narrating things, if you are an iconic brand, if you want people to take you seriously and authentically and know you care, you are not going to use a synthetic voice. Can you imagine somebody running for political office and they got a robot telling you why you should vote for them? Well, what else do you have? Are you real? Yeah, we knew politicians were liars. Now you're letting us know you're not even real. You're not human. It doesn't work, but it is taking a lot of business away. And I think a lot of it is from people who never would have hired a professional voice actor or a professional videographer or a professional graphic designer in the first place.
Right.
They just wouldn't. Other places are doing it because others are, and they're saving money. And I was just tuning into a discussion from not just actors, producers, casting directors, agents, etc. They all hate AI. They don't like what it's doing to the industry. It's taking all these creative sparks and spikes and making it more of a flat line. Everybody is the same. But if the client wants it, that's what they're going to use. But I do predict it's going to find its own little place, and it's not going to take over the world. And human is going to be seen as valuable because it's rarer. It's a commodity that can't be replicated.
There's a lot of indicators that that's already happening in a lot of different ways, because when looking at, you know, the metrics, the stats, et cetera, at least on video, which is of course where I pay more attention than anything else, people are recognizing artificial, whether it be an artificial script, whether it be an avatar, whether it be a voiceover, whatever it is. They may not even consciously be aware of it, but they're clicking away. It's just not. I mean, there may be some value in the entertainment side, just as there's value in cartoons. But guess what? Even cartoons are human beings that have made it. First of all, second of all, it's human voice, human emotion that is brought into that. It's not artificial voices. In other words, the soul is there because it's human beings that are creating it and are giving it voice, right? I really like that statement that you made earlier, that it's lacking soul, because whether you're a spiritual person or not, the reality is that we are spiritual beings as well as physical, mental, emotional, etc. And that's completely lacking in AI. And the best it could ever do is to try to mimic it. And we just know, whether we be educated or not, whether we be paying attention or not, we just know when something is fake.
Yes, we do. And that's why I like to teach people, use AI to begin with. That's great. All sorts of terrific prompts. We can work with on that too. But I want to get you to show how uniquely and wonderfully human you are and help you get past that. And a lot of that is mindset, because people now think, I've got to beat this AI perfection. No, you do not. And everybody has their own superpower. It's a matter of finding it and allowing it to shine and then developing it. And, teaching it to do good in the world. Do not use your superpower for evil. Some people do.
There's a whole other subject too. But I often tell people that, look, one of the things that when new members are coming to us for video socials and they're trying to get on camera and they're trying to get comfortable with that idea and they're trying to gain confidence around that. And I will often admit the biggest obstacle is the sense of vulnerability, right?
Yes.
Because we hate to be judged. We want to look good. We want to be admired. We want to save face. We don't want to come across as foolish, right? But we take that to the extreme, and that's perfectionism. And then of course, then we're locked in perfectionism, and we're not going to get anything done. And so it seems easy. I'll just have AI do it. And I really encourage people, don't do that. Realize that the reason that somebody is going to hire you is the reason that somebody is going to pay attention to you in the first place. The reason that somebody's going to consider you, I'm working my way back up the sales and marketing funnel, right? The reason that somebody's going to notice you and to begin with is your human quality mixed with your knowledge, your experience, and the value that you could potentially bring them, right? Yes. AI can cover knowledge, can't cover experience, and it can't be human, right? It can't connect on a human, emotional, empathetic, compassionate level.
And I want to share a story about even showing up imperfectly. I was on a podcast about a year ago, And it has a video component. And I had a little bit of a quandary because just the day before I had slipped and fallen and I hit my
Mm,
face hard on a very hard surface.
mm,
And I had a black and blue eye and I had some
uh,
puffiness and just, oh my gosh, how am I going to cover it up with makeup and all that? Am I going to cancel? It's like, no, I'm not, because that's my whole story. I went on and I said, hey, you're probably wondering why she looks like she's just survived a street fight, barely. Let me tell you. And sometimes those imperfections bring people to you because they go, oh my
yes,
gosh, she's so brave to show up. Or, she
yes,
actually did make that makeup. That makeup does look, how did you use
yes.
your makeup to make that look a little better? Or you got past that. Because I'm telling you from personal experience, vulnerability has been the hardest thing for me to be able to show on camera. When I was working in corporate, I was running
Yeah.
with the boys,
Yep.
okay? And it was a very male-dominated industry, the tech industry. Plus, I was young and I'm small. And I would have some of the clients want to pat me on the head. Oh, you remind me of my daughter or granddaughter. Great. Yeah, you're going to do a $2 million deal with me. And so I had to work very hard to assemble a very professional, mature way about me. And so that
Mhm.
got built in. But people see that in everyday life and not just in the boardroom. And they're going, okay, all right, fine. You're boring. You've got to stick up your butt. What do you really like? And the truth is, in business today, and when we show up, people want to know who you are before they're going to decide to give you any money or give you any of their valuable time.
Yep.
Show them the vulnerability. Imperfect. We are who we are. Like, hey, let your freak flag fly. I got that out right. We all have it. That's what makes us memorable. Really.
It's what makes us memorable. It allows people to connect, and I think most importantly, it gives them permission because they know that they're imperfect, right? Anybody who's in your audience, anybody
Yes.
who's watching you, listening to you, consuming whatever content that you're creating, they know that they're imperfect, right?
And
And
you
when they can see
for it.
somebody else, guess what? Overcome, and that overcoming is just doing it anyway, right? Yes,
Yes.
maybe your voice is, I won't get into what we expect of ourselves the first time that we see ourselves on camera. That's all that have to get people past that. But the reality is that we are who we are, and if we care about who we serve, if we're communicating in a way that is going to be helpful, that is going to help move people forward, the more human we are, the better. And like you said, you don't want to be a disaster, right? You don't want to be you don't want to be a train wreck, right? So, but I've got personal items behind me, but I don't have stacks of papers, and it's not all messy, as an example, right? You've got a lovely bookshelf behind you. It's not everything's not perfectly lined up in an exact row, right? So it is your environment. This is my environment. I wear my hair down. I've got an aloha shirt on. This is just who I am. And I often tell people that if you sat across the desk from me or met me at a networking event, this is exactly who you're going to get, because I don't try to be something else on camera than I am. And that was not the case in my early careers, which I've had a couple of them. One of them was professional sales, kind of like you. And I thought at the time when I was first getting going that I needed to be a chameleon. I needed to be somebody else. I needed to be whatever the person across from me wanted to see or needed to see. And it took a long time. And that's why initially when I joined Toastmasters, I was just had tremendous phobia about public speaking, was because I didn't know how the audience, wait a minute, there's an audience, there are different people here. What do they want me to be? And with some practice and with support and with encouragement, and this is a little plug for Video Socials, we can help each other get past that and realize that, yes, you want to be yourself. Yes, you want to be your best self, but it needs to be authentic. It needs to be genuine. It needs to be real. And it needs to be able to convey the emotion, the care, the concern, the passion that you have for what it is that you do. And that is our best defense against AI. I don't want to close without going into your masterclass. So take our last couple of minutes and tell us about that and how we're going to get.
Absolutely. I want to just take everything we've been talking about, being unique, being ourselves, being iconic in our own way, and how we can use that to stand out in a sea of sameness with other human beings and to be memorable and to be unique and somebody that people want to do business with. It doesn't matter whether there's AI pulling out there or what. So I'm going to be speaking about the best way to work with AI. It is a partner, but more importantly, how not to be a Stepford wife. Don't be a plastic person. Let yourself be who you are. And this is how you can stand out. And these are the 3 to 5 things you want to keep in mind. So that'll get everybody started on that particular path. So it's going to be a nice blueprint for how to be able to survive in the age of AI, because it's not going away. It's just a matter of who's going to be the master of it, who's calling the shots, and who knows how to leverage it best.
Awesome. And that is AI turning you into a Stepford wife? And that is June 23rd, 2 p.m. Eastern. I think you said that's 11 a.m. Pacific.
And do the math everywhere else in the world.
There'll be a link below. I think also with lauradoman.com, you're going to have it on the homepage there to how to sign up as well.
So that if you want, you can click right there and get there directly, or reach out. I can send it to you too.
Laura, thank you again. Absolutely delightful conversation. I'm not surprised that we're in alignment on this, but at the same token, I really appreciate. These are the conversations that those of us who are trying to help people actually get what they want in life, yes, utilize AI to help you get what you want. Just don't use it to replace yourself. Don't try to have it replace your voice or your image or your smile and your uniqueness and your distinctiveness. Laura Doman, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to Inspiring Business with your host, Mark Bullock. Your positive comments, likes, and most importantly, your sharing of this show with others is greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to the Inspiring Business Podcast on whatever platform you prefer. You can catch prior episodes on videosocials.net and on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and all the major podcast platforms.